Chapter 1. Early Years. I am born on the 15th of August, 1769, in a small town called Ajaccio on the island of Corsica. My father, Carlo, is a lawyer, and my mother, Letizia, is a strong and intelligent woman. I am not the only child. I have brothers and sisters who play with me and make my early years joyful. Our house in Ajaccio is modest, but full of love. My father works hard to support us. He spends many hours at his desk, reading and writing. My mother takes care of our home. She is strict but fair, and she teaches us the importance of discipline and hard work. At the age of 7, I begin my education. My parents send me to a school nearby. I learn to read and write, and I also study numbers. My favorite subject is history. I love hearing stories about great leaders and ancient battles. These stories make me dream of doing great things one day. Life in Corsica is not always easy. The island is beautiful, with its mountains and seas, but it is also a place of struggle. Corsica has been fought over by different countries. When I am a boy, it is part of France. My father tells me stories about our island's past, about the brave Corsicans who fought for freedom. As I grow older, I become more aware of these struggles. I see that life is complex and sometimes hard. But my family gives me strength. My mother often says, "Napoleon, remember who you are. Be strong and brave." When I am 10 years old, something important happens. My father decides that I should continue my education in France. It is a big opportunity, but it means leaving my family and my home. I feel both excited and scared. I do not know what awaits me in this new land. The day I leave Corsica, my heart is heavy. My mother hugs me and says, "Go and learn, my son. Make us proud." I promise her that I will work hard and return as a man she can be proud of. The journey to France is long and tiring. I travel by boat, watching Corsica disappear on the horizon. I am sad, but I also feel a fire inside me. I want to prove myself. I want to achieve great things. In France, I join a military school. It is very different from my school in Corsica. The buildings are large, and there are many students. They come from different parts of France, and they all seem confident and strong. At first, I feel lonely and miss my family terribly. But I remember my mother's words, and I push myself to learn and succeed. I study hard at the military school. I learn about mathematics, science, and more about history. I also learn to be a soldier. The teachers are strict, and the training is tough. But I am determined to do well. As I work and study, I think of my family back in Corsica. I write letters to them, telling them about my life in France. I miss them, but I know that this is the path I must take. I want to make a difference. I want to be someone who matters. In these early years, I lay the foundation for the rest of my life. I do not know yet what the future holds, but I'm ready to face it with courage and determination. My journey has just begun, and I am eager to see where it leads. Chapter 2. The Military School. I arrive at the military school in Brienne-le-Château, a small town far from my home in Corsica. It is autumn, and the leaves are turning gold and red. The air is colder than I'm used to, and everything feels different and new. The school is a large, imposing building surrounded by high walls. As I step inside, I feel a mix of excitement and fear. The first days are the hardest. I am the only Corsican among French boys who seem bigger and stronger. They speak quickly, and sometimes I struggle to understand their words. I miss my family and the warm sun of Corsica. At night, I lie in my small bed and feel very alone. But I remember why I am here. I want to learn, and I want to be a soldier. So I wake up each morning, put on my uniform, and go to my classes. We study many subjects, including mathematics, history, and geography. We also learn about the military. I learn words like regiment, which is a group of soldiers, and tactics, which are plans to fight in battles. Our days are long and structured. We wake up early when the sky is still dark. We have classes in the morning, then training in the afternoon. The training is hard. We march, run, and learn to use a musket. A musket is a type of gun that soldiers use in battles. The teachers are strict, and they expect us to work hard. But I am determined to show that I am as good as any French boy. I study my books every night, learning every word and every map. Slowly, I start to do well in my classes. My teachers notice my efforts, and I earn their praise. As the months pass, I make friends. There is Jacques, who is tall and has a loud laugh. He teaches me slang words, and we share bread during meals. Then there is Pierre, who is serious and loves books as much as I do. We talk about our dreams of becoming great leaders. I also learn to speak French fluently. At first, I speak slowly, searching for the right words. But soon, I can argue and joke in French. Speaking well helps me feel less like an outsider. I begin to feel more at home. The school holds a competition every year. It is a chance for students to show their skills in tactics and leadership. I work hard to prepare. I study old battles and create plans for winning new ones. When the day of the competition arrives, I am nervous but excited. During the competition, I lead a team of boys. We work together, using the tactics I've planned. The battle is only a practice, but it feels real to us. In the end, my team wins. I feel a rush of pride. I have shown that I am a good leader. Winning the competition changes how other boys see me. They respect me more, and some who used to ignore me now greet me with smiles. I learn that respect is something you earn through hard work and bravery. My years at the military school teach me many things. I learn about discipline and friendship. I learn that I am capable of overcoming loneliness and challenges. Most importantly, I learn that I have a passion for military life. I dream of one day leading real soldiers into real battles. As I grow from a boy into a young man, I am no longer just the Corsican boy who misses his island. I am a student with skills and dreams. I am ready for the next step in my journey. Chapter 3. A Young Officer. My time at the military school comes to an end, and I'm ready to start my career as an officer. I am assigned as a second lieutenant in an artillery regiment. Artillery is the part of the army that uses big guns called cannons. It is a prestigious position, and I am eager to prove my worth. I join my regiment in 1785. The soldiers in the regiment are older and have more experience. They look at me, a young officer fresh from school, with skepticism. I know I must earn their respect. My first task is to learn everything about my duties. I study the cannons, learning how they work and how to use them effectively in battle. I also take care of my men. I make sure they have food, clothing, and training. I learn important verbs like command, operate, and maintain. Life as an officer is not easy. We often move from one place to another. We march for long hours and sleep in tents. The weather can be cold and wet, but I do not complain. I work hard, and slowly the older soldiers begin to see my dedication. One day, we receive news that there is trouble in a nearby town. There is a revolt, and the army is called to restore order. It is my first real test as an officer. We arrive at the town at dawn. The sky is grey and there is tension in the air. I am nervous, but I hide my fear. I remember my training and prepare my men. I give clear orders, using simple commands that my soldiers can follow quickly. The confrontation is intense. The rebels are angry and desperate, but we are disciplined. We use our cannons to block the main road, cutting off the rebels' escape. I am in charge of aiming the cannons. I must make quick decisions. The situation is dangerous, but I stay calm. After several hours, the revolt is under control. The leaders are captured and order is restored. My commanding officer is pleased with my performance. He praises my calmness and decision-making under pressure. I feel proud, but I know this is just the beginning. News of my actions spreads, and I am given more responsibilities. I am promoted to first lieutenant. A promotion is when you move to a higher rank. I am proud, but I also feel the weight of more responsibility. In the following years, France goes through many changes. There is talk of revolution. People are unhappy with the king and the government. There are more protests and fights. The army is often called to intervene. During these troubled times, I see opportunities to advance. I study the political situation carefully. I listen to what people say, and I read the newspapers. I learn new words like strategy and tactics, not just for battles, but for understanding politics. In 1793, during the siege of Toulon, a port city that has rebelled against the government, I get a significant opportunity. The army commanders need someone who knows artillery to help retake the city. I volunteer for the task. The siege is difficult. The enemy has strong defenses and the battle is fierce. I command the artillery with precision. We target key points, making it hard for the enemy to supply their troops. Day by day, we gain ground. Finally, after long weeks, the city falls. It is a major victory. My role in the siege is recognized, and I am promoted to a higher rank captain. My success at Toulon marks the beginning of my reputation as a skilled military leader. As a young officer, I learned that the path to success is through hard work, courage, and understanding the world around me. I am determined to climb higher and reach my dreams. Chapter 4. The Italian Campaign. In 1796, I am given command of the French army in Italy. This is a great opportunity, but also a great challenge. The army is disorganized, and the soldiers are demoralized. They need food and equipment. I must turn this situation around if we are to succeed. Italy is a beautiful land with mountains, rivers, and rich plains. But it is also a land of conflict now. Our enemies, the Austrians and their allies, control much of northern Italy. They are strong, and their armies are well equipped. I begin by speaking to my soldiers. I tell them that we are here not just to fight, but to bring freedom to the people of Italy, who are ruled by kings and emperors. I see my role not just as a general, but as a leader who can inspire. We start our campaign in the spring. The Alps are still capped with snow, and the rivers are swollen with the meltwater. Our first task is to cross these mountains and rivers to reach the enemy. It is a hard march, and we face many difficulties. The men are tired, and some are sick, but we keep moving forward. Our first major battle is at Montenotte. The Austrians think they can defeat us easily, but we have a plan. We use the mountains to our advantage, hiding our movements and attacking suddenly. The element of surprise is on our side, and it works. We win the battle and capture many prisoners. This victory is important. It boosts the morale of my soldiers and surprises our enemies. They start to see that we are a force to be reckoned with. After Montenotte, we move quickly, winning more battles at places like Lodi and Arcole. Each victory brings us more confidence and more support from the local people. The battles are hard and dangerous. I am always in the middle of the action, directing my troops and making quick decisions. I learn to read the battlefield, understanding where to attack and where to defend. I also learn to use our artillery effectively, placing our cannons where they can do the most damage. One of the most challenging moments comes at the Battle of Lodi. We have to cross a river under heavy fire to attack the enemy. It is a risky move, but I decide we must take the chance. I lead my men across the bridge, and we fight our way over. It is a fierce fight, but we succeed. This victory earns me the nickname, the Little Corporal, a term of affection from my soldiers. As we push further into Italy, we face tougher resistance. The city of Mantua is under siege for many months. It is a hard time, with shortages of food and many casualties, but we persist, and eventually, the city surrenders. This is a turning point in the campaign. With Mantua captured, we control a key part of Italy. Throughout this campaign, I write many letters. I write to my superiors, explaining my actions and asking for more support. I also write to the people of France, telling them of our successes. These letters are published in newspapers, and people start to know my name. They read about the young general who is winning battles in Italy. By the end of the campaign, we have pushed our enemies out of northern Italy. We sign a peace treaty with Austria, and Italy is free from foreign control. My soldiers and I are heroes. We have not just won battles, we have changed the map of Europe. This campaign teaches me much about war and leadership. I learned that a good leader must be brave, but also smart. I learned that the love and trust of my soldiers are as important as any weapon. And I learned that with determination and skill, even the greatest challenges can be overcome. Chapter 5. The Egyptian Expedition. In 1798, I lead a large French expedition to Egypt. The goal is ambitious. We aim to weaken Britain's influence in the Mediterranean and to spread the ideas of the French Revolution. Egypt is also a land of ancient mysteries, and I am fascinated by its history. Along with soldiers, I bring scientists, engineers, and historians. We intend to explore and study this ancient land as well as conquer it. Our journey begins by sea. We sail across the Mediterranean, and the journey is long and difficult. The sea is rough, and many of my men suffer from seasickness. Despite the challenges, I spend much of my time on deck, looking out at the horizon, thinking about our mission. We land in Egypt at Alexandria, a great city by the sea. The Egyptians have never seen an army like ours, and at first they are shocked and afraid. We march into the city, and I order my men to respect the local people and their customs. I believe that we are not just conquerors, but also liberators. From Alexandria, we move towards Cairo, the capital. The march is tough. The desert is unlike any landscape we have faced before. It is vast and hot, with sand stretching as far as the eye can see. Our soldiers struggle with the heat and water is scarce. But we push forward, determined to reach our goal. Along the way, we encounter Egypt's mighty river, the Nile. It is the lifeline of this country, and I am struck by its beauty and importance. We follow the river, using it to guide us toward Cairo. But our journey is not without opposition. The Mamluks, who are powerful warriors and rule Egypt, prepare to defend their land. We face them at the Battle of the Pyramids. I position our troops in strategic squares, a formation that protects us from all sides. The battle is intense, and the fighting is fierce. However, our strategy works, and we win a decisive victory. After the battle, we enter Cairo. I set up a temporary government and continue our scientific missions. The scientists who have come with us begin to study the ancient pyramids and temples. They make maps and draw pictures. They also discover old manuscripts and artifacts, which tell stories of Egypt's long history. One of the greatest discoveries is the Rosetta Stone. It is a large stone with writing in 3 different scripts. My scholars are excited because it might help us understand ancient Egyptian writing, which has been a mystery for centuries. During our time in Egypt, we face many challenges. The British Navy attacks our fleet, trapping us in Egypt. The desert is harsh, and disease spreads among my troops. Despite these hardships, we continue our work. We explore more than just the military conquest. Our scientists explore plants and animals that are unknown in Europe. They collect samples and create detailed drawings. These studies will later be published, sharing the knowledge of Egypt with the world. My time in Egypt teaches me a lot about leadership and the importance of knowledge. I see how the past can inform the present, and how science and exploration can expand our understanding of the world. Although our military goals are not fully achieved, the scientific achievements of the expedition are groundbreaking. As the expedition draws to a close, I decide to return to France. My country is in turmoil, and I am needed there. I leave behind a land that has taught me much, a land of history and mystery. Chapter 6. The Coup of 18 Brumaire. In 1799, after my return from Egypt, I find France in chaos. The government, known as the Directory, is weak and unpopular. There are problems everywhere: food shortages, angry citizens, and enemies who threaten France from outside. Many people are unhappy and looking for a new leader to bring stability. During this time, I meet with politicians and military officers who are also worried about the future of our country. We discuss what should be done. Many believe that a strong government led by a decisive leader is needed to save France from disaster. I think about this deeply. I know the risks, but I also see an opportunity to bring order and peace. The plan we create is bold and dangerous. It is called a coup d'etat, which means a sudden change in government by force. We decide to act on the 18th of Brumaire, which is a date in the French Revolutionary calendar, corresponding to November 9th, 1799. On that day, I go to the Parliament, where the government meets. The building is in Paris and is full of deputies, the elected representatives of the people. My brother, Lucien, who supports me, is there too. He plays a crucial role in what happens next. I enter the Parliament with a group of loyal soldiers. I am calm, but determined. I tell the deputies that the country is in danger and that the current government cannot save it. I say that I am here to protect France from its enemies and restore stability. My words are strong, and I speak about duty, honor, and patriotism. At first, some deputies shout at me. They call me a tyrant and a traitor. The situation is tense, and it looks like things might turn violent. But then Lucien speaks. He defends me strongly and convinces others that the change is necessary for the survival of France. He is persuasive and powerful in his words. Outside, the citizens of Paris wait anxiously. Rumors spread quickly, and there is fear of fighting in the streets. But our plan works smoothly. We control the key points in the city with our soldiers. By the end of the day, the government of the Directory is dissolved, and a new government, called the Consulate, is established. I am named First Consul, making me the leader of France. This change does not come without opposition. Some people are angry and scared about what the future holds. But many are relieved. They are tired of the uncertainty and want a leader who can make tough decisions. As First Consul, I start to work on reforms. I want to make the government more efficient and the laws fairer. I also focus on rebuilding France's economy and ensuring that the streets are safe from crime and violence. My goal is to make France strong and respected again. The coup of 18 Brumaire marks a turning point in my life and in the history of France. It is a moment when I take a great risk, but it is also the beginning of my rise to even greater power. I know that the challenges ahead are enormous, but I'm ready to face them with all my strength and knowledge. Chapter 7. Consul to Emperor. As the first consul of France, I take many steps to restore stability and improve the life of the French people. The country has suffered from years of chaos and conflict, and there is much to do. I focus on creating new laws, rebuilding the economy, and strengthening our defenses. The people begin to see improvements, and their trust in my leadership grows. My ambition is not only to stabilize France, but also to ensure its future security and glory. As I consolidate power, I begin to dream of a stronger role that could allow me to make lasting changes. The idea of becoming emperor starts to take shape in my mind. I believe that only a strong and central authority can keep the country united and powerful. I discuss this idea with my closest advisors. Some support it because they see the benefits of a strong leadership. Others worry about the reaction of the people and the rest of Europe. They fear that making myself emperor might look like I am seizing power for personal gain. But I argue that it is for the good of France. In 1804, after careful planning and discussion, I decide to take the step. On December 2nd, I am crowned Emperor of the French in a grand ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The ceremony is lavish and attended by important figures from all over France and other countries. It is designed to show the strength and stability of the new regime. As Emperor, I introduce myself as Napoleon I. My new role gives me the authority to push forward with even bolder reforms. I work on the legal system, introducing the Napoleonic Code, which modernizes French law. This code influences not just France, but other countries in Europe and around the world. I also focus on building the image of France as a leading European power. I rebuild Paris, commissioning grand monuments and improving the infrastructure. Paris must reflect the glory of the French Empire, I believe. However, my ascent to emperor also brings new challenges. Some countries in Europe see my coronation as a threat. They fear that France will become too powerful. Tensions grow, and alliances form against us. I know that France must be prepared to defend its position. Despite these external threats, many French people support my leadership. They see the benefits of a stable and strong government. They feel proud of our country's achievements under my leadership. My rise from consul to emperor has indeed been a dramatic journey, marked by ambition and a desire to see France prosper. I am aware that not all support my decision to become emperor. There are those who say I have too much power, that I risk becoming a tyrant. But I believe that strong leadership is necessary for France's success. I see myself as a guardian of the nation's future, not just a ruler seeking personal glory. My transformation from consul to emperor is not just about acquiring greater power, it is about setting a vision for France, a vision of strength, unity, and respect. I want to leave a legacy that will endure, a France that is respected and admired by the world. As I reflect on my journey, I realize the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. The title of emperor brings with it not only power, but also the duty to protect and lead the nation. I am determined to meet these challenges head-on, driven by my commitment to France and its people. Chapter 8. Reforming France. As Emperor of France, one of my first priorities is to transform the country's legal system. The laws are confusing and different all over France. My goal is to create one set of laws for the entire country. This will help make the system fairer and easier to understand for everyone. I believe that strong and clear laws are the foundation of a stable society. In 1804, I introduced the Napoleonic Code, also known as the Civil Code. This new set of laws changes many aspects of French life. It focuses on personal rights and property rights, making the laws the same across the country. The code is based on principles such as equality before the law and the protection of private property. The Napoleonic Code has several important sections. One section deals with civil rights and the duties of citizens. Another part focuses on the family, outlining rules for marriage, inheritance, and parental authority. There is also a section on property, which includes laws about owning land and other assets. To create this code, I work with some of the best legal minds in France. We review thousands of laws and debate which ones should be included in the new code. It is a huge task, but we are committed to making the laws clear and fair. The introduction of the Napoleonic Code is a major reform. It simplifies legal processes and reduces the power of local judges to interpret laws in different ways. Now, everyone in France must follow the same rules. This brings a sense of unity and order to the country. Apart from legal reforms, I also focus on rebuilding and modernizing France's infrastructure. Roads, bridges, and canals are built or improved. This makes travel and trade easier and boosts the economy. I understand that a strong economy is crucial for the nation's strength and stability. Education is another area I reform. I believe that education is key to a successful nation. I establish new schools, including secondary schools and special institutes for advanced learning. These schools are open to more people, including those from less wealthy families. I also introduce changes to the government structure. I create a system where ministers are responsible for different areas such as finance, justice, and war. This helps organize the government's work more effectively. I keep a close watch on all parts of government to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Under my rule, France becomes a centralized state with a strong government. I make all major decisions, and my word is law. Some people criticize this, saying it gives me too much power. However, I argue that this centralization is necessary for France's stability and development. The reforms I introduced during my time as emperor have a lasting impact on France and on other countries in Europe. The Napoleonic Code, in particular, influences laws in many parts of the world. It is seen as a model for legal systems in other nations. My efforts to reform France are driven by my vision of a powerful, unified, and modern nation. I want to leave a legacy that will last for generations. I believe that the changes I make strengthen France and prepare it for the future. Reforming a country is a challenging task, and not everyone agrees with my methods or decisions. But as I look back on what we have achieved, I am proud of the progress we have made. France has transformed under my leadership, and it stands as a strong nation with a clear set of laws and a robust economy. Chapter 9. The Battle of Austerlitz. In 1805, I faced one of the greatest challenges of my military career. The Battle of Austerlitz, also known as the Battle of the Three Emperors. This battle is significant, not just for its scale, but for its strategic importance. It involves the armies of France, Russia, and Austria, and it takes place in what is now the Czech Republic. The alliance against France is strong. Russia and Austria, along with Britain, form a coalition. They aim to reduce the power of France and restore the balance in Europe, which they believe I have disrupted. I understand the risks. A defeat could weaken France significantly. However, I also see an opportunity to secure France's dominance in Europe with a decisive victory. The terrain at Austerlitz is varied, with hills and plateaus that offer strategic advantages. I arrive at the battlefield and immediately begin to assess the landscape. My plan relies on using the terrain to my advantage, and I decide to feign weakness to lure the enemy into a trap. I pull back some of my troops, making it appear that my right flank is vulnerable. The enemy sees this and thinks they have a chance to crush part of my army. They shift their forces to attack where I seem weak. This is exactly what I hope for. The movement of their troops creates gaps in their lines, weakening their overall position. On the morning of December 2nd, the battle begins. The weather is foggy, and the sun struggles to shine through. This day later becomes known as the Sun of Austerlitz, because the sun breaks through the fog at a crucial moment, boosting the morale of my soldiers. As the enemy moves forward, I give the order to strike. My troops on the flanks hold their ground, while the center, where I have hidden my best soldiers, pushes forward with full force. The attack is sudden and fierce. The enemy is caught off guard, and their lines start to break. The fighting is intense. My soldiers are well trained and motivated, and they fight with courage and determination. We use cannons to disrupt the enemy lines further and cavalry to charge at key moments. The battle is chaotic, but my commanders and I keep a close watch and send orders to adjust our tactics as needed. As the day progresses, it becomes clear that our strategy is working. The enemy's initial advantage is lost, and their forces are scattered. We press harder, and soon the enemy is in retreat. The battle is a decisive victory for France. The Battle of Austerlitz is not just a military success, it is also a psychological blow to the coalition. Russia and Austria suffer heavy losses, and their plans to curtail French power are thwarted. The victory solidifies my reputation as a brilliant military strategist. After the battle, I meet with the defeated leaders to discuss peace terms. The Treaty of Pressburg follows soon after, in which Austria agrees to significant concessions. The battle reshapes the political landscape of Europe and strengthens France's position as a leading power. The Battle of Austerlitz is one of my most celebrated victories. It demonstrates the effectiveness of combining careful planning with the bold execution of military tactics. It also shows the importance of understanding and using the terrain to one's advantage. As I reflect on this battle, I realize that it is not just the strength of the army that wins wars, but the vision and decisiveness of its leader. Austerlitz confirms my belief in my strategies and in my soldiers, and it reinforces my resolve to lead France to greater glory. Chapter 10. The Continental System. After the victory at Austerlitz, I feel confident about France's military strength. However, I am aware that Britain remains a formidable adversary. Britain's powerful navy controls the seas, making direct military confrontation difficult. To challenge Britain, I decide to use a different strategy: economic warfare. In 1806, I introduced the Continental System. This system is an economic blockade designed to isolate Britain from the markets of mainland Europe. I aim to weaken Britain's economy by preventing them from trading with European countries. The plan is to make Europe economically self-sufficient, relying less on British goods, which I hope will force Britain to negotiate on terms favourable to us. The Continental System forbids the importation of British goods into any country allied with or controlled by France. I send out orders that all trade with Britain is to be stopped. I explain to my allies and the territories under French influence that this measure is necessary to secure Europe against British domination. However, implementing the continental system is challenging. Not all European countries are willing or able to enforce the blockade effectively. Smuggling becomes common as merchants try to bypass the restrictions. Many people do not want to give up British goods, which are often cheaper or better quality than local products. The economic impact of the blockade is significant, but not just for Britain. While it does hurt the British economy, it also causes problems for European merchants and consumers. Prices for certain goods rise, and some goods become hard to find. This leads to frustration and anger among the people and businesses affected. To enforce the blockade, I have to increase customs inspections and border controls. This leads to more military spending, which strains France's finances. The blockade also prompts Britain to take stronger actions to maintain its trade routes and interests. Despite these challenges, I remain committed to the continental system. I believe that economic pressure can succeed where military might have been stalled by Britain's naval superiority. Over the years, the blockade does cause economic difficulties in Britain, but the European economies, including France's, suffer as well. The effects of the continental system extend beyond economics. It influences political relations in Europe. Some countries, feeling the economic strain, begin to resent French control. This tension contributes to fluctuating alliances and unrest in several regions. The blockade also affects my relationship with Russia. Tsar Alexander I of Russia initially agrees to support the continental system, but later finds the economic consequences unbearable. Russia's vast territories are hard to control, and smuggling is rampant. The trade restrictions hurt Russian interests, leading to strained relations between us. This tension eventually contributes to significant conflicts. In retrospect, the continental system shows the complexities of using economic measures as tools of warfare. While it demonstrates my willingness to explore every avenue to weaken an opponent, it also highlights the limitations and unintended consequences of such strategies. As I reflect on this period, I see the continental system as a bold but problematic strategy. It teaches me that economic actions can have wide-reaching effects, influencing not just economies, but also political stability and international relations. This experience shapes my understanding of power and its implications in the intricate tapestry of European politics. Chapter 11. The Peninsular War. In 1807, I turned my attention to the Iberian Peninsula, where I planned to enforce the continental system against Portugal and later control Spain. However, this campaign, known as the Peninsular War, becomes one of the most difficult and prolonged conflicts during my reign. Portugal, a traditional ally of Britain, refuses to comply with the continental system. To enforce the blockade, I decide to send French troops through Spain to reach Portugal. The Spanish royal family, weakened by internal disputes, initially permits this. However, the situation quickly becomes complicated. In 1808, I placed my brother Joseph Bonaparte on the Spanish throne, thinking this change would make governing easier and secure Spanish cooperation. Instead, it sparks widespread outrage and resistance among the Spanish people. They do not accept a French king and rise up in revolt against the occupation. The resistance in Spain is fierce and passionate. It is different from other conflicts because it involves not just regular armies, but also ordinary citizens. They fight using guerrilla tactics, small-scale, irregular attacks that disrupt supply lines and ambush troops. The term guerrilla itself comes from this war, meaning little war in Spanish. The Spanish guerrillas are supported by the British, who send troops to help fight against my forces. The British are led by Arthur Wellesley, later known as the Duke of Wellington, a skilled and cautious commander. His involvement turns the Peninsular War into a major challenge for my armies. Fighting guerrillas proves exhausting and costly. My soldiers, trained for large-scale battles, find it difficult to deal with constant small attacks and ambushes. The rugged landscape of Spain, with its mountains and narrow passes, also favors the guerrilla fighters. Moreover, the war is unpopular among my troops. They are far from home, fighting in a hostile country where the local population is openly against them. The heat and disease also take a toll on their health and morale. Many soldiers begin to feel that the war is unwinnable. As the war drags on, it drains French resources and weakens my position in Europe. The need to keep large numbers of troops in Spain limits my ability to respond to other threats. The ongoing conflict emboldens my enemies, who see an opportunity to challenge me elsewhere. Despite the challenges, I continue to send reinforcements and supplies, determined to hold on to Spain and Portugal. But the cost is high, and the war becomes a quagmire. The resistance in Spain not only affects military outcomes, but also influences public opinion across Europe, damaging my reputation and undermining support for my rule. The Peninsular War lasts until 1814, becoming a major factor in the eventual weakening of my empire. The intense and prolonged resistance in Spain demonstrates the difficulty of controlling an unwilling population through military force alone. Reflecting on this period, I realized the Peninsular War was a significant miscalculation. While I sought to extend French influence and enforce economic policies, the fierce nationalistic response in Spain underscored the limits of power. The war teaches me the complexities of leadership and the unpredictable nature of resistance. Chapter 12. The Invasion of Russia. In 1812, I make the decision to invade Russia, a campaign that will become one of the most significant and disastrous of my military career. The relationship between France and Russia has been deteriorating, mainly due to disagreements over the continental system and Russia's refusal to enforce it strictly. I believe that a quick, decisive campaign will force Russia back into compliance and secure French dominance in Europe. The Grande Armée, one of the largest armies ever assembled with over 600,000 soldiers, crosses the Niemen River into Russian territory in June. The army is a mix of French troops and soldiers from Allied states. I am confident in our strength and believe that we can achieve a quick victory. However, the campaign soon encounters significant difficulties. The Russians avoid a direct confrontation, retreating deeper into their own territory. They use scorched earth tactics, burning crops and villages, leaving nothing behind for my army to use as supplies. This strategy slowly weakens my forces. As we march further into Russia, the vast distances and lack of supplies take a toll on the soldiers. The summer heat is intense, and many men suffer from heat exhaustion and dehydration. I watch as my once powerful army struggles with the harsh conditions. Despite these hardships, we continue our advance and finally engage the Russian army at the Battle of Borodino in September. The battle is fierce and bloody. Both sides suffer heavy losses, but we manage to push the Russians back. Yet it is not the decisive victory I hope for. The Russian army remains intact, and they continue to retreat, drawing us further into their land. We march on to Moscow, expecting to find supplies and possibly negotiate peace. However, when we arrive, we find the city largely abandoned and parts of it set on fire by the retreating Russians. Moscow, which I had hoped would provide much-needed resources, offers little but ashes. The decision to remain in Moscow through the winter proves catastrophic. The Russian winter is brutal, far colder than anything my soldiers have faced before. Temperatures drop far below freezing, and snow covers the landscape. We are not prepared for this severe weather. The cold penetrates every shelter, freezing the wounded and wearing down the healthy. Food is scarce, and many of my men are forced to eat their horses or forage for whatever frozen roots and berries they can find. The soldiers' uniforms offer little protection against the cold, and frostbite claims many. Disease spreads quickly among the ranks, further reducing our numbers. Realizing the untenable situation, I order a retreat. The retreat turns into a nightmare. Harassed by Russian guerrilla attacks and suffering from cold and hunger, the ranks of my army thin dramatically. Many soldiers are lost to the cold or the constant skirmishes during the retreat. The retreat from Moscow marks the beginning of the end of my campaign in Russia. Of the more than 600,000 men who started the campaign, only a fraction return. The disaster in Russia is a severe blow to my empire and my reputation. It exposes the vulnerability of my forces and emboldens my enemies in Europe. Reflecting on this campaign, I understand that underestimating an enemy's resolve and overextending one's forces amidst harsh conditions are grave mistakes. The invasion of Russia teaches me the harsh limits of ambition and power, and it remains a dark chapter in my career. Chapter 13: Downfall and Exile. The year 1814 marks the beginning of the end of my rule as Emperor of France. Following the disastrous campaign in Russia, my empire starts to crumble. My enemies, sensing weakness, form a new coalition. This time, they are determined to end my dominance in Europe. As the allied forces of Russia, Austria, Prussia, and Britain close in on France, I face battles on multiple fronts. Despite the challenges, I command my troops personally, trying to use my experience and strategic knowledge to overcome the overwhelming odds. The battles are intense and exhausting, fought under harsh conditions with high stakes. Despite my efforts, the sheer numbers and renewed determination of the coalition forces proved too much. My army, weakened by years of continuous warfare and the losses in Russia, cannot hold back the advancing enemies. City after city falls to the Allies, and the situation grows more desperate by the day. In Paris, the mood turns against me. My rule, once supported by military success, now seems to bring only defeat and suffering. In April 1814, after a series of losses, I am forced to make a difficult decision. Realizing that continuing the fight would lead only to more bloodshed and the possible destruction of Paris, I decide to abdicate the throne. I step down, hoping that my abdication will spare France further harm. The terms of my surrender are harsh. The Allies exile me to Elba, a small island in the Mediterranean Sea. It is a stunning fall from power. Just years before, I had controlled a vast empire, and now I am confined to an island measuring just a few miles across. Elba, however, is not a prison in the traditional sense. I am given sovereignty over the island and retain the title of emperor, though of a much reduced domain. My time in Elba is a period of reflection, but also of activity. I oversee improvements on the island, reform its agricultural practices, and attempt to improve the lives of its inhabitants. These efforts keep me busy, but the shadow of my former power looms large. Life in Elba is a stark contrast to my previous life. I have time to think about my past decisions, the wars I led, and the lives affected by my ambition. This introspection is sometimes painful, but it also gives me a new perspective on power and responsibility. Despite my reduced circumstances, my desire to return to power does not wane. I closely monitor the situation in France, where the restored Bourbon monarchy fails to gain the affection or respect of the people. My name is still remembered, and not all view my rule negatively. After less than a year in Elba, I learn of growing discontent in France with the current regime. The army in particular remains loyal to me, and many officers express dissatisfaction with the Bourbon kings. Encouraged by these reports, I begin to plan my return. This period of exile has renewed my resolve, and I feel ready to take back what I lost. In February 1815, I escape from Elba and return to France. My arrival marks the beginning of the 100 Days, a brief period during which I regain power. This dramatic return surprises Europe and sets the stage for another chapter in my tumultuous life. The time in Elba, though a period of downfall and exile, is also a time of preparation and resilience. It teaches me that defeat can be temporary, and that with determination, new opportunities can arise, even from the depths of defeat. Chapter 14. The 100 Days. In March 1815, I leave my exile on Elba and return to France. This period, known as the 100 Days, begins when I land on the French mainland and ends with my final defeat at Waterloo. It is a time of intense activity and high stakes. When I arrive in France, the news of my return spreads quickly. The army, once loyal to me, rallies to my side again. As I march towards Paris, more soldiers join me. The people are unsure but watchful. Many remember my previous rule with mixed feelings. Louis XIV, the king restored by the Allies after my abdication, tries to stop me. However, his efforts fail as his troops desert him to join my cause. When I reach Paris in March, Louis XIII flees, and I enter the city to cheering crowds. I am once again Emperor of France, but my return to power is not welcomed by all. The Allies, who had worked hard to defeat me and restore the Bourbon monarchy, are furious. Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia quickly form a new coalition to oppose me. They prepare their armies to invade France if necessary. Knowing that I face overwhelming odds, I decide to strike first. I hope to defeat the Allied armies before they can join forces. This leads to my decision to attack the British and Prussian armies in Belgium. In June 1815, I lead my troops into Belgium, where we first encounter the Prussian army at Ligny. We achieve a tactical victory there, but the Prussians retreat in good order. They are not decisively defeated, and this complicates my plans. 2 days later, on June 18, 1815, I face the British and Allied forces under the command of the Duke of Wellington at Waterloo. It is one of the most famous battles in history. The battlefield is muddy from the previous night's rain, making the fight even more challenging. The battle is long and brutal. I command my forces to attack Wellington's positions repeatedly, but his troops are well entrenched. The British and their allies hold their ground stubbornly. Late in the afternoon, the Prussian army, which had been regrouping after Ligny, arrives on the battlefield to support Wellington. The arrival of the Prussians turns the tide against me. My forces, already exhausted from the day's fighting, cannot hold back this new wave. As the Allied forces press forward, my army begins to disintegrate. The once orderly retreat turns into a rout. The defeat at Waterloo is complete and devastating. It marks the end of my rule in France. I return to Paris, knowing that my position is untenable. Facing pressure from all sides, I abdicate for the second time on June 22, 1815. After my abdication, I am exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. This time, there is no escape. The 100 days are over, and with them, my final attempt to restore my empire. The 100 days is a dramatic and intense period that showcases the fluid nature of political power and military strategy. My return to France demonstrates my ability to inspire loyalty and command armies, but also underscores the collective European resistance to my rule. Chapter 15. St. Helena. After my defeat at Waterloo and my second abdication, the Allied powers decide that I should be exiled far away from Europe to prevent any further attempts to regain power. They choose St. Helena, a remote island in the South Atlantic Ocean, as the place of my final exile. It is here that I will spend the last years of my life, far from the country I ruled and the battles I fought. St. Helena is rugged and isolated, with steep cliffs and a vast ocean surrounding it. The climate is mild, but the winds are strong and the landscape is starkly different from the lush fields of Europe. The British government assigns me a small residence, Longwood House, which is damp and uncomfortable. Despite my requests for improvements, the house remains inadequate, contributing to my declining health. Life on St. Helena is monotonous and restrictive. I am guarded by British soldiers, and my contact with the outside world is severely limited. The governor of the island, Sir Hudson Lowe, is strict and does not trust me. He enforces rules that keep me isolated, monitoring my correspondence and controlling who I can meet. Despite these constraints, I try to keep myself occupied. I dictate my memoirs to my loyal companions who have chosen to follow me into exile. These writings are my attempt to document my life and the decisions I made as a leader. Reflecting on my past, I analyze my successes and mistakes, trying to understand the dynamics of power and fate. I also spend time reading and gardening. I take an interest in the local plants and manage to cultivate a small garden around Longwood House. Gardening provides me a sense of peace and a connection to the land, even in such an isolated place. As the years pass, my health deteriorates. The dampness of Longwood House exacerbates my ailments. I suffer from stomach pains and other symptoms that make my days uncomfortable and my nights restless. My once robust constitution weakens, and I feel the weight of my years and my battles. Despite the physical and emotional challenges, I engage in lively discussions with those around me. I debate history, philosophy, and the affairs of the world, though the news reaches us slowly. These discussions are a solace and a way to keep my mind sharp in the face of adversity. I also reflect on my legacy. I think about France and the changes it underwent during my rule. I wonder how I will be remembered and what the future holds for the nation I loved and transformed. The solitude of St. Helena gives me time to ponder these questions deeply, without the distractions of power and the immediacy of conflict. As my health continues to decline, I feel the approach of the end. I am aware that I will not leave St. Helena alive. In my final days, I am attended by a few faithful aides and a doctor who try to ease my suffering. I pass away on May 5th, 1821, at the age of 51. My last words reflect my thoughts of my homeland. France, the army, the head of the army, Josephine. My death marks the end of a remarkable life filled with ambition, power, and tumult. The story of my final years on St. Helena is one of isolation and reflection, a stark contrast to the years of war and leadership. It is a time for me to confront my own human vulnerabilities and to contemplate the impermanence of power and glory. Chapter 16. Legacy. My story, marked by battles, leadership, and sweeping changes, leaves a profound legacy that continues to influence the world long after my death. This chapter reflects on the impact of my policies and military campaigns on Europe and beyond, considering both the advancements and the turmoil they caused. One of the most enduring aspects of my legacy is the Napoleonic Code, a comprehensive set of laws I introduced during my reign. This legal framework reshapes civil law in France and in territories under French control. The principles of the code, such as equality before the law, the protection of private property, and the secular nature of the state, spread across continents as the Napoleonic Wars redraw the map of Europe. Today, many modern legal systems are built on foundations that were laid during my rule. My administrative reforms also leave a lasting mark. I reorganize the administrative divisions of France, streamline the bureaucracy, and establish a merit-based system for the civil service. These changes make the government more efficient and reduce corruption, setting examples that many other countries later follow. In education, I promote a system that offers a more uniform curriculum and is accessible to a wider segment of the population. I establish lycées, technical institutes, and the baccalaureate exam, which still form the backbone of the French educational system. These institutions foster a sense of national identity and promote the ideals of the Enlightenment. However, my legacy is not solely positive. The Napoleonic Wars cause widespread destruction and loss of life. The relentless campaigns disrupt societies, economies, and families across Europe. The scale of the conflicts and the mobilization of entire nations lay the groundwork for total wars that emerge in the 20th century. Moreover, my ambition to dominate Europe leads to significant resistance. The desire for national self-determination grows stronger under my rule, especially in the regions I attempt to control. This sentiment fuels the rise of nationalism, which becomes a powerful force in world politics and contributes to the reconfiguration of borders and the emergence of new nations. My influence extends beyond Europe. The Louisiana Purchase, for example, occurs during my reign when I sell French territories in North America to the United States. This transaction doubles the size of the US and has a profound impact on its development. In the Caribbean, my decision to reinstate slavery in French colonies after its initial abolition sparks a backlash that culminates in the Haitian Revolution, leading to the establishment of the second independent nation in the Americas. In retrospect, my legacy is complex and multifaceted. While I am often remembered for the wars I waged and the power I wielded, my impact on the legal, administrative, and educational structures of modern societies is undeniable. These contributions have a lasting effect on the governance and cultural landscapes of Europe and parts of the Americas. As the world continues to evolve, the lessons from my era remain relevant. The benefits of strong, centralized administrations must be balanced with the need for personal freedoms and respect for cultural differences. The drive for power must be checked by considerations for human rights and the welfare of nations. In sum, my life's work leads to significant advancements in governance and law, but also to conflict and suffering. This duality is a reminder of the complexities of power and the lasting consequences of a leader's choices. Chapter 17. Reflections. As the story of my life draws to a close, it invites us to reflect on the profound journey I have undertaken, from the modest origins on the island of Corsica to the heights of imperial power in France, and finally to solitude and reflection in exile on St. Helena. My life is a testament to the complexities of human ambition, the burdens of leadership, and the indelible marks they leave on history. My rise to power was fueled by the chaos of the French Revolution, a tumultuous period that sought to redefine the notions of equality, liberty, and fraternity. As a young officer, I saw an opportunity to bring order to a fragmented France. I believed in the principles of the revolution, yet my approach to implementing these ideals involved consolidating power to an extent that often contradicted the revolutionary aspirations for democratic governance. The establishment of the Napoleonic Code is among my most enduring legacies. It not only codified laws in a clear and accessible manner, but also laid the groundwork for modern legal systems in many parts of the world. This achievement reflects a commitment to some of the revolution's ideals, providing a framework for legal equality, the protection of property, and the secular state. However, the manner in which I governed, often autocratically, raises questions about the balance between effective leadership and authoritarian control. The wars I led, known collectively as the Napoleonic Wars, reshaped the map of Europe. They spread some revolutionary ideals across the continent, but also brought devastation and suffering to millions. These wars raise critical ethical questions about the costs of ambition. Was the pursuit of a unified Europe under French leadership worth the bloodshed and the upheaval it caused? The answer to this question continues to stir debate among historians and ethicists alike. Moreover, my return from exile on Elba to power in France during the 100 Days, although a remarkable feat, underscores the relentless pursuit of power that defined much of my career. This period invites reflection on the nature of power and its corrupting potential, as well as the responsibility leaders have towards peace and the welfare of their people. In the solitude of St. Helena, I had time to ponder these issues deeply. The isolation allowed me to contemplate my own mortality and the ephemeral nature of power and glory. It was during these moments of reflection that I perhaps fully grasped the impact of my actions on France and on Europe, both the advancements and the scars they left behind. As readers and students of history, you are invited to reflect on these aspects of my life. Consider the moral and ethical dimensions of leadership and power. What lessons can be drawn from my rise and fall? How can history inform today's leaders and citizens about the pursuit of power and its implications for society? I encourage you to think critically about the duality of my legacy, the reforms and modernizations against the backdrop of war and domination. Understanding this duality is crucial to grasping the nuanced portrait of a leader who shaped an era that still influences the modern world. In contemplating my life, consider not only the historical facts, but also the human experiences behind them, the ambitions, fears, victories, and vulnerabilities. Reflect on how history is shaped by individuals and how individuals are, in turn, shaped by history.